Good morning. It is 5:05 a.m. Rehearsal starts in 25 minutes. I'm all by myself. I can't imagine why people aren't getting here a half hour before practice. Anyway, it's week 3 of Avon Cadet, and today I want to focus on the challenges and rewards of working with middle school students. There's a lot there. So throughout the day, I'll maybe get a couple snippets of our day, but you've kind of seen what it's like. But I just want to chat a little bit about this age group. And as everyone knows, middle school is very challenging for both teachers and students. So I'm going to share some of my insights with that. But right now, I'm going to start getting equipment in here and getting our shirts set up because our show shirts came in. I see stars, and so we've got to divvy those out to the kids and the parents who bought stuff too. So I'm gonna get that organized. Who's the first one? Duh. All right, we need to get Brannigan a show shirt. She's wearing an old one from last year. Brannigan, what are you doing?
Or forever.
The first thing I want to talk about middle school kids is their physical bodies. One of the biggest challenges with middle schoolers is that most of them don't know their bodies. Number one, they're changing so radically at that time in their life. And number two, most of the kids, we get at least, come to us with zero experience as far as being trained physically. So no gymnastics, no dance, for most of them, no sports. Like they've never been held accountable for feeling what their body is doing and physically changing anything about what they're doing. So even teaching them how to stand up straight or hold their abs in or lower their tailbone or, stand in a wide second position. It's like, what is that? I've never thought about how far apart my legs are when I stand in a, So that's issue number one for me, is that overcoming that obstacle. And dealing with that is really just a lot of physical training and physical conditioning and of course dance class. And the first day of Cadet Guard, it is how to stand up straight. And then with dance training, we stick to the basics, the things that everybody has to learn no matter what kind of dance you're doing. So we obviously do plie and releve and tendu for an eternity, and lots of port-de-bras. So putting our arms in different positions. I have them mirror me a lot. Just, move your arms like I'm moving my arms and try to match the qualities. And we do a lot of, this is what it shouldn't look like. For example, what you're doing. And this is what it should look like. And so we try to provide a lot of non-examples along with examples so they see the difference. And then just reps. And this kind of goes into part 2 of middle schoolers, which, so their physical bodies and the constant change and the untrained part of it all is a challenge. And so you work that physically, but then the next layer is their emotional immaturity, and how that time of their lives going through what they're going through physically also affects them emotionally. I mean, it's no secret how middle school kids are and the wide range of them. I mean, you have kids that are so insecure, like they don't want to take their eyes off the floor. And then you have the kids that are so outside of their, like, they go out, full out. They are ready to scream and yell and dance and do whatever. And, they have no inhibitions. And you have that whole range of kids that you're trying to deal with. And so how do I deal with that? Number one, creating an environment of safety. That when they're here, we're not here to judge them. We're not here to judge each other. We're here to grow together, and we're all uncomfortable, and we got to get through this together. So we just kind of create that environment of safety. Lots of free play. I know that sounds kind of weird, but like improv, or just try to move your bodies, or like I said before, mirroring me. Because, a lot of times improv at middle school, it can go either way with middle school kids. But if they're mirroring me, then I'm providing the movements they're just trying to match, instead of with improv where they have to come up with their own movements, which is a little more challenging. And then we do lots of life lessons with Susie where we just talk about things that we notice might be happening. Lots of positive reinforcement. So lots of praise for people who are doing the right thing, even if it's not exactly the right thing. If they're taking the steps towards getting outside of their comfort zone, then we praise them to death. And when there are corrections, they are done in a tone of kindness and support, and I want you to succeed, not like you need to fix that because it's terrible, which maybe at the high school level, their skin's a little thicker, they can handle that kind of critique. But at the middle school, it's just kind of how you approach it. That to me makes all the difference. So issues number 1 and 2 for me, physical immaturity and then emotional instability that goes along with middle schoolers. Let's also talk about the social struggle of middle schoolers. Not only are they struggling internally with themselves, but they struggle externally with the people around them. Something I've noticed about color guard kids is there is the widest variety of students from all different cliques, from all different styles, from your bookworm academic, straight A kids, to your I did cheerleading for 4 years, to your karate black belts, to your I've never done a single thing. This is the first activity I've ever done. I don't really have a lot of friends. You get them all, which is wonderful. I am not bashing that at all. That's one of my favorite things about the experience. I also enjoy how my nose is being illuminated right now. But I digress. So a lot of times there's conflict. There is the inability to do any kind of conflict resolution on their own. So either you have situations where you are being informed of every little tiny thing that happens and you're being expected to solve it, kind of like a kindergarten classroom with all the tattles, or they are resolving it themselves in a very bad way. Being nasty to each other, talking about each other behind their backs. Social media, that's a huge situation and issue with middle schoolers, because most all of them have their Snapchats and their Instagrams, and most all of them don't understand how bad it is to post things on those platforms, how hurtful it is, how it makes them look bad, how it can start all kinds of negativity in the guard. So I have dealt with all of these things. And do I have a magical answer? No, I do not. Here are some suggestions and some things that have seemed to have helped, but obviously the biggest answer is they grow up and go to high school, where it gets even worse. No, I'm just kidding. Where they mature, But number 1 is starting the season off with a lot of team building activities, which you can just Google. Maybe I can do another video about that, some of the things that we do, but actually taking rehearsal time to do fun things with them. I think you saw in one of my vlogs, if you watch them, one of the ways we kicked off our first show day, when we had our first 6 a.m. rehearsal, we were worried about the state of mind they were going to be in and if they were going to be kind to each other or not. So we started the whole thing with an obstacle course, like a relay race, in which it was great. Team cheering, and they had fun and they were laughing, and it was a great way to do that. So team building, fun activities, just to get them to understand that even though they might be different people and they might come from different walks of life, they can all have fun together. Something else that has worked for me is just sitting down and having life lessons. One of the benefits of my age is that I'm kind of a mom figure to them, almost grandma at this point, seriously. But just sitting down and having a heart-to-heart. It's not my personality to bark. I don't really do very well scolding and being negative and nasty. So when we have to have talks about, situations that are bubbling on the verge of exploding into negativity, I just talk from the heart, I don't expect you all to be best friends. You don't all have to go to sleepovers at each other's house on the weekends, but you've got to treat each other with respect. And I do a lot of role playing. I don't make them role play, but I'll give examples of, let's say I did this and this and this, and this is how I reacted. Can you see what's wrong with that? Do you see how that festers? Do you see, So just heart to hearts with role playing, not a lot of barking. This year has been particularly tough. We just seem to have a group of kids that struggle on how to treat each other. And I had kind of the realization the other day that I don't think a lot of them know that what they're doing is hurtful. Like, I think some of them think they're trying to be helpful by yelling at each other to stop talking, by if they hear something about another friend, they're going to stick up for that friend, and I think they feel like they're doing something positive. So we had a heart-to-heart talk about that last week. Like, you might be thinking you're helping the situation, but by opening your mouth, you're not. And so we just kind of dealt with that. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you all have those issues too. So if you have recommendations or thoughts about how to deal with that, please feel free to comment below. Open up the conversation about how you deal with the social issues of middle school. I guess one last final thing about that, again, going back to me being a mom figure, is me developing relationships with each of my girls, or boys. We just don't have any boys this year, so I've been saying girls. Taking the time to get to know them, to talk to them, to, like when there's a break, instead of me sitting and just chatting with the staff, can I get out there and talk to them and get to know their interests and find out what's going on in their lives? Because, y'all, kids have a lot going on in their lives, and sometimes it just gives you better perspective on why they act the way they do. Yeah. Oh, and I have one more thing. The parents. I know parents also come in wide varieties as well, but a lot of times parents don't know that their kids are behaving the way they're behaving, so having an open communication with the parents most of the time is a good thing. This year we have really supportive parents, and I reached out to them for help when I wasn't, sorry, I can't get over the highlight on my face. So distracted. But I did reach out to them because I didn't know how to handle some of the stuff that was happening in the Guard, and just ask them to maybe have a conversation with their kids. And a lot of them were appreciative. They didn't realize that was happening. Because, teenagers a lot of times don't want to talk to their parents, and so they won't tell you. Or they go home and tell their parents their side of the story, and their parents don't know the other side. And so, and you know how teenagers are. They over-dramatize and make it seem like the other side is the worst entity on the face of the earth, and don't really ever share with their parents how they were behaving to, you know where I'm going with that. So the social side of things, always a challenge. Okay, enough about the struggles. There are a lot. Let's talk about the wonderful things about working with middle schoolers, because there are wonderful things about it. And I want to start with watching them fall in love with the activity. That is a wonderful thing to watch. And I know this can happen at any age level. Like, if you don't have a cadet program, you can watch this happen at the high school level as well. But for me, just, knowing the age group and the struggles that they have developmentally, socially, emotionally, I love when they discover how much they love color guard. And one of my favorite things is when they go to their first show, and then at the next rehearsal, they all show up with their guard clothes on. They went to the sous vide tables, the merch tables, and they loaded up on pants that say guard and hoodies that say guard and, t-shirts that say cute little things about spinning. And it's like, oh, you're in. You bought the merch. So that's always fun to see. And then, also they're building excitement for coming to practice and realizing that they're getting better and that they're actually enjoying what they're doing. And when we do across the floors, that they suddenly are gaining confidence. The first time you do jazz running or flutter running or prancing, and their faces are like, what is this? And then, a couple months into the season, when they start developing the skill and they're getting compliments and we're calling them out like, yes, you're doing it, and just the looks on their faces. I love that. Which kind of goes into the other thing, not just watching them fall in love with guard, but watching them, the light bulbs go on, watching them understand skills, and watching them when they finally get something. This year we put a single toss in the show, which I know sounds like what's so bad about a single toss, but a lot of times I'm hesitant to do it because we have fifth graders in our guard, and sometimes they just can't figure out the mechanics of a 6-foot pole going around. And we just thought this year, let's go for it. We're gonna make everybody throw a single toss in the show.
And so, every practice and technique time, we're working on that single toss. And this week we just had a couple of kids that it clicked for them, when you finally, kind of like riding a bicycle, when you finally understand how to make that bicycle balance and you're like, oh, I get it, watching them figure it out and the light bulbs going on and how excited they are. And, we have a move in the show where they kind of do a handstand moment, and we're just working so hard to get them to understand straight legs. You got to point your toes and have straight legs. And we just had this poor little girl in the guard just couldn't figure it out. She was just a kicking donkey for a long time, bent knees. And last night, straight legs. And so we made a big deal about it, and just her face, like, oh, she figured it out. It's great. It's so fun to watch that. And another positive thing that I love working with middle schoolers about is knowing that for a lot of the kids in the group, this is the first time they've been a part of something. Whether they tried sports in the past and they didn't really like it, or I don't know, they've just never belonged to something before. Watching them figure out how to be a part of a team, watching them make friends, watching them become a part of something is very rewarding as well. Something else that is wonderful about teaching middle schoolers, and I mean this truthfully, they are entertaining. They're entertaining. There's never a dull moment. You have the issues you have to deal with, but when they're in good moods and practice is going great and they're, being their fun selves, they're very entertaining. They make me laugh all the time. They make me roll my eyes all the time. They make me shake my head all the time. But it's an entertaining age group for sure. And then to wrap this up, I do have one more good quality about teaching middle school color guard. One of the successes, one of the things I enjoy. And I love sending them to high school knowing how to do the things. Of course, spinning and dancing, like those basics, those are important. How to stand up straight, that's important. But I love that when they go to the high school, they know how to fold a tarp already. They know that a 6 o'clock rehearsal time means you get there at 5:45, so you're ready to start at 6 o'clock. They know how to show fold a flag. They know how to hang up their uniform when they're done performing. Just like all those things. They understand that makeup is going to be a part of it. Some of those things that if you don't have a middle school guard, when they get to the high school coaches and directors, they have to take the time and energy to explain all those things. And I love being able to send them to the high school knowing that that's going to benefit the high school, that they don't have to spend time doing that. So that's actually probably one of my favorite things about teaching middle school, is knowing that I am helping the high school program. That makes a lot of it worth it for me. Well, I've been recording this video over a couple of days, and I think it's time to assemble the pieces and get it out there. So let's wrap this up, shall we? I want to hear from you. If you watch this video, can you comment below? What are some challenges you have with middle schoolers? How do you deal with them? And what are some of the successes that you have? What do you love about teaching middle school color guard? Or if you're watching this video and you're not a color guard person, which I don't know why you would, but hey, if you did, welcome. Maybe you teach like a choir or a band or something else with middle schoolers, or theater. Let's talk about the age group. What do you find that works? What do you find that stresses you out? What do you find that you love? So comment below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.